Hi, welcome back. This is your host, Phoenix, from Becoming Badass. And today we're talking about how do you start to find yourself after you feel lost? This topic means a lot to me because for most of my life I have felt this way, and this is going to be a very powerful episode. So I'm so excited to share this information with you. And the tips I'm going to be sharing with you are very simple but very powerful. I'm also going to share two huge mistakes that we all make that keep us lost and prevent us from finding ourselves, and share a story of how I lived in Hawaii and how their culture is so much different than ours, and how you can start using what I learned to your advantage to help you find yourself. This episode is going to be extremely powerful to help you find who you really are and start living a life where you can be true to yourself and honor who you are. Let's get into it. You're listening to Becoming Badass. This podcast is going to help you learn how to break free from that good girl role, to stop playing small and find yourself so that you can find real happiness being the truest, freest, most badass version of yourself. I'm Phoenix with my master's in counseling, certified practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I help you stop people-pleasing, overgiving, and being too nice. Start living authentically and trusting in yourself, develop your intuition, and create a rock-solid self-worth in who you really are. This is a horrible feeling, just to feel lost, like you don't know who you are anymore. And in order to start finding ourselves, there are some vital things that we can start doing right now, and some vital things that we need to stop doing so that we can come home to ourselves. And in this crazy, fast-paced world that we live in today, it's so easy to be distracted and constantly busy that we lose the connection with who we are and start living our lives according to what we think we should be doing or we're supposed to be doing, instead of living our lives according to what matters the most to us. So no matter the reason why you feel lost, if it's a bad relationship where you lost yourself, or maybe you just lose yourself to all the giving and the sacrificing that you do every single day, or maybe you just never got the opportunity and the support and the guidance to know who you are. That was my experience. I never got the opportunity to know myself and figure myself out. If you grew up in an environment without support, if it wasn't safe to be yourself, and when that happens, you're just surviving. And the role that we use to survive as a child will prevent us from finding who we truly are, our true selves, as an adult. If you didn't get your needs met as a child for love, safety, and the ability to say no because you didn't get your needs met as a child, you were just surviving that experience and you never got the opportunity to know who you are. Without getting mirroring as a child, without an adult seeing us and saying, hey, you're good at this, you're good at that, I love this about you, I like this about you, then how can we possibly know who we are? We not only need a safe environment to grow up in, but we also need someone who we feel loved and safe by actually let us know information about ourselves so that we can actually know who we are. And if we didn't get that, then chances are you probably feel lost and don't know who you are. So I was stuck in the pleaser, perfectionist, and the good girl role for my entire life. And on top of that, if you actually enjoy putting others first and meeting their needs, which means you're going to be coming last, you can lose yourself to all the giving, the helping, and pleasing to other people. Not to mention being a chameleon and blending in with others, because that's much more safer to not stand out or speak up. If you're anything like me, I had the tendency to be so adaptable to others by putting their needs and wants and happiness first. And even though I enjoyed giving, I lost myself even more in the process because I was over adapting to everyone else. When you're constantly adapting and accommodating others, you may notice that in your relationships, you're just kind of like a chameleon and you're a very adaptable person, which is a good thing. But when we do it too much, we are constantly adapting ourselves to others in our environments, and we lose sight of what we want, what we need, what matters to us, our preferences, and we'll lose our sense of self. So there's this thing as being too accommodating, being too adaptable, being too much of a chameleon is teaching others not to value us, respect us, and take us seriously because they're so used to us putting them first and adapting to them. Why would they ever have to meet us where we are, care about our needs, our wants, our preferences? So that saying, we train people how to treat us. If we're always adapting and being a chameleon, we're not training anyone to treat us with love, care, and respect and value that we're actually giving. And it's a way we keep ourselves safe by hiding. So much of our lives growing up has been about following the rules, get permission, do what you're supposed to do. So this is our conditioning and programming. And to really find yourself, we have to challenge all of that, the shoulds, have tos, need tos, you must do this, it has to look this way, do it the right way. We have to challenge all those. And guess what? We're buried beneath all of that. As I started to pay attention to my own inner world and my own inner experience, okay, who you are isn't out there, it's inside. I'm going to share two huge mistakes that we make when we're trying to find ourselves. Then I'll go into the very powerful, simple practices that you can do every day to start connecting to your inner self, which will literally change everything. The first one is intellectually. You can't figure yourself out. Your mind is not going to help you find who you are. Stop trying to figure out everything with our mind and stop looking at the world to tell you who you are and to give you that mirroring you may have never received, or maybe you got so much negative feedback. You're saying, please approve of me, please like me, please love me so that I can love myself. But if you're waiting to get all that stuff to feel good about yourself, that may never actually happen. Matter of fact, that's what has been programmed and conditioned, is your mind. So we have to learn to untrain ourselves from the ways that are actually counterintuitive to who we naturally are. And the second one is looking outside of yourself, in your family, your peers, your friends, your job, anything external, to give you the love, the acceptance, the validation, approval, or permission to be yourself. You have to take it. And to start focusing on our own internal world, okay? So for me, the visual metaphor I had for this whole process was like an archaeologist, and I was excavating all of the layers of the conditioning and the programming and I heard someone call it domestication that we've experienced growing up in order to be successful in our society, in order to be successful in your family system, with your peers, at school, all of that stuff. We learn a certain way to be. And so much of it goes against who we naturally are that we have to undo all of those layers. A big trap that I had to get over was trying to figure it all out. You can't intellectualize this process. You can't figure it out with your mind because your mind has been trained to be and act a certain way already. That's the conditioning. So we have to focus on our own internal world. But you can't do it with your head. You also can't do it by looking at the world and saying, please accept me, please love me. Okay? Looking through your external environment to make you feel safe, loved, seen, heard, valued. Looking to the world to give you all the things you never got as a kid. So when I was in this process of excavation, it was interesting that everything I had learned I needed to do in order to heal and to come back home to myself, I had to do the opposite. So I struggled with people pleasing and perfectionism and putting others first. I had to challenge everything I knew about, okay, just be a good girl, do your best, do it perfectly, and you'll be safe. And the opposite was true. I don't need to be a good girl. That's my performance. I don't need to try to be perfect. Perfect isn't real. There's no such thing. And following the rules is what got me to this place where I felt like I was imprisoned internally inside of myself and I couldn't be me because of all the rules and the conditioning and the programming that was in my head. So those things weren't going to work. You have to buck against the system and you'll see the things that don't serve yourself, meaning it makes someone else's life easier, more comfortable when you don't challenge them. It makes someone else's life easier when you don't speak up, when you don't confront them. You see what I'm saying here? So you've been trained to be who you are right now because that person who raised you and that caretaker, that authority figure, wanted you to be a certain way, to be like them, or because it made their life easier. You know, it's a lot more challenging to parent a child who is constantly asking questions because they're curious versus a kid who's just shut down and scared and afraid because their parent is angry all the time. They have a lot less to deal with. And it's also interesting to note that all the things that I was so ashamed were actually my strengths, all of them. And there were so many things about myself that literally I was like, oh my God, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. That wasn't even true. Like, I remember thinking that when I went to interviews, I was horrible at interviews. And I had this one person in my life who was very charismatic, and he did interviews with such ease. And I was so jealous. And I was like, you know what? Why can't I do that? Why can't I do it easier? And then when I started thinking, maybe I am charismatic. Maybe I can do this interview thing. Oh my God, I was so much better just merely entertaining the thought that I could be like that made the interview process so much easier. And I showed up in a completely different way. The identity and the role that you're in now, and all the things you believe about yourself, the things that you think you're horrible at, you're not good at, may not even be true. And your greatest strengths, the things that you truly are good at, may have been shamed. And you may actually think that you're not good at them at all. And that may not be true. And you may be stuck in a role in your life. And you think that's who you are, but it's not. It's just a role. Okay. And you'll know that it serves you because it will feel good. You'll be like, this is me. It won't feel like you're having to force yourself to be a certain way. It feels inauthentic, it feels wrong, and it feels rigid. And that's how you know, hey, you're stuck in a role and this isn't who you are. But I do want you to know that that role kept you safe. So we don't need to beat ourselves up or feel bad. We can thank that part of ourselves that took control, took on that role to be safe because it helps you survive. It helps you get to where you are right now. So no feeling bad, no beating yourself up here. So no trying to figure it out with your brain. And two, no looking to the external world to tell you who you are, meet your needs, or to help you find yourself. This is all an internal process, a process of excavation, like an archaeologist. And in this fast paced world, so much in our world is a distraction. Our world is so busy and full of so many distractions. Most of us are running around like a chicken with our heads cut off, so distracted, so busy, that we don't even know what we want and we are disconnected with who we really are. Are we really living our lives according to what's most important to us? How can we do that if we don't even know who we are? Because those are our values. And that's vital to being happy, to living a good life, is to live in alignment with your values. And it's so very, very easy to feel like you've lost yourself because keeping up with the pace of the world today is insane, full of distractions, full of craziness. And if you're trying to keep up, there's no way to be in connection with yourself because it just moves too fast. And this may make you feel a lot better to tell you that you don't have to keep up with everyone. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. There is no right way to live your life. There's no way it should look. It's only the way that actually honors you, the way that feels good to you, the way that you know is right to you. And you can't start finding that path until you start to connect and listen to yourself. Not the outside world, not what your brain thinks you should be doing or how you should be doing it, but to listen to yourself. We are taught that staying busy means somehow we're going to be successful and to keep ourselves so exhaustingly busy that we just feel so tired and exhausted all the time. In order to start finding ourselves, there are some new things that we need to start implementing so we can start listening to our inner voice and our inner guidance that has all the answers that we need. And it starts by slowing down and to stop constantly being distracted, whether that is TV, your laptop, your phone, always having notifications on and always consuming. Slowing down truly means that we have to start slowing down our gibber and stop letting ourselves constantly be distracted. I know people who leave their TV on all the time 24/7. I could never do that. I would never feel calm and at peace with all that noise in the background. Okay? So, how often do you have your phone in your hand or you're on some type of device consuming something, whether that be you're reading, you're on social media, you're taking pictures, you're watching a video? Think about that percentage. When we're consuming and distracted, it's very, very easy. Most of us are doing this. We are numbing out, running away, and avoiding ourselves by consuming and always distracting ourselves with all the bright and shiny things that are around us. So notice the things, do an inventory. What is taking up most of your time? What are the things you feel a compulsion to do? If you feel a compulsion, if you're always reaching for your phone and you're always grabbing it and doing the same things over and over again, chances are you are addicted to it. I used to check my email multiple times a day, and I felt like I had to do it. But what was happening was this anxiety was in the background, and I was letting my anxiety run me instead of making a choice. So now I put my phone in another room because I don't want myself to be distracted. We can't hope to connect with ourselves and know who we really are if we're constantly busy and distracted with everything around us. We need to subtract the things in our life that are unnecessary and unimportant and start doing certain practices so that we can get in connection with ourselves and stay in connection with ourselves. And once you get connected to yourself, every day is about maintaining that connection. And when you take out all the unnecessary and all the distractions and really be able to focus on what matters to you, you can instantly start making your life happy and a hell of a lot more fulfilling. And you definitely know what you want, who you are, and what you're not going to tolerate and where you want to go in life instead of constantly being distracted or waiting on the good things to happen to you. And I can truly tell you, as being a people pleaser and a giver and a perfectionist my entire life, my identity was rooted in that. I got worth from showing up that way. This took a lot of work to be able to undo all that programming and conditioning and find value in who I was without the giving, without the doings, without the busyness, without the pleasing, and start being selfish and doing what is best for myself. When we start to declutter our lives from constantly being distracted and constantly consuming, and every day take time to be still and alone in the silence. And this may be very challenging because when you're all by yourself in the silence, that's when your emotions can just start screaming out at you. It's so important that we just take time to be with ourselves and to sit in the stillness and the silence and give yourself that time and that space to be with yourself. This can be very challenging, but that's how we start doing the work of finding ourselves. We need that time and space to find who we truly are. And that's not going to happen if we're constantly going, busy, busy, busy. That's how we stay lost forever, is the constant busyness. Busyness is such a huge distraction. And doing your to-do list and constantly being busy and constantly going, it's just going to keep you in this state of being exhausted and tired. And just notice, is your to-do list more important than taking care of your needs and taking care of yourself? I felt like a slave to my to-do list for so long, and it felt so good to check something off the list, and I realized, wow, I'm just running myself into the ground. And that means eliminating all the musts, the shoulds, the have-tos, the need-tos as much as possible out of your life. And when you see how inflexible these really are and how rigid they are, it's going to create a lot of pressure on yourself. And also notice when you start subtracting these things out of your life, what are the things you're doing to meet other people's expectations of you? The things that you think you should do or you must do or you have to do. These things are also creating a lot of pressure and a lot of must to do in your life. Do you actually genuinely want to do them? Do you genuinely want to go to that kid's birthday party or to go to that family member's house on the holidays who always criticize you and make you feel bad? Most likely it's a big fat no. So as you start to subtract the meaningless, mundane, and mediocre activities and all those expectations out of your life that you're only doing because you think you should be doing it or because that's what you think everyone's supposed to do, air quotes, but really doesn't bring you any joy or fulfillment at all. Matter of fact, it just takes your energy, your time, your joy away. And notice the things that are keeping you very, very busy. And ask yourself, do I genuinely want to do this? I'm not saying stop going to the dentist. I'm saying the constant activities that are literally running your life and running you ragged, do you genuinely want to do them? Do you actually need to vacuum your house every single day? Do you need to load the dishwasher every single day? Do you need to check your email 20 times a day? Do you need to have the TV on in the background constantly? You see these things, we think that this is just the way it is. But no, that's just how we've structured our lives. And guess what? It's your life. You can structure it. You can do it the exact way you want to do it. A way that actually makes you feel good, mentally, emotionally, physically. Our lives, especially in the U.S., is extremely busy. There's a constant barrage of things we have to do and we need to do. That's why subtracting the unnecessary things is so important, because you're not going to find yourself by continually being busy and distracted by your to-do list and your must-dos and have-tos. All this is doing is keeping you avoiding yourself, and it may be your ego's way of doing this on purpose because it may just be too scary and painful to just be with yourself. So this is about really being mindful, and you can take your journal out and notice all the things that suck your energy and your time and your resources, and then what are the things that add to your life and actually make you feel better and give you a sense of happiness and well-being. And as you start subtracting these things that you actually don't like, that you think you're supposed to be doing, that you need to do, you're going to start getting a little taste of freedom. That freedom, that's what you've been sacrificing to look and be and act like everyone else, because that's what we think is what's keeping us safe. That's what we learned we need to do to be acceptable to everyone, to get their approval and get them to like us, because we've been trained to conform. I was trained to conform, and it just felt like a prison to me. But we've all had this happen to us in some form or fashion. It's what we're taught from the cradle to survive in our society today. But these things are choking our own individuality and preventing us from knowing who we are. So I lived in Hawaii for a few years. The pace in Hawaii is very slow. My younger self could not handle the extremely slow pace. I wanted to scream. Like people would stop at a stoplight literally half a mile before the stoplight. I'm not kidding. And I would feel like I was going insane because I was raised in the U.S. and in the U.S. is go, 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 do, 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 accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. And that's what I was used to. So it was so shocking to me mentally and physically to see this slow pace. And of course I judged it and thought it was bad and wrong. But it's not at all. Their pace is slow, relaxing, and calming. For someone who's used to being so busy and constantly on the go, it is shocking to just slow down. I was always like, hurry up and get there. And this pace in Hawaii, this slow, calm, and luxurious pace is how they live their lives. They're living their lives enjoying every single moment. Whereas we, on the mainland, as they call it, constantly fill every single damn moment of our lives with constant to-dos and busyness and things we think we need to do that are literally killing ourselves and burning ourselves out every single damn day because we are taught to work so hard and fill up every tiny moment to constantly be distracted. And so many of us feel that there's not enough time. We have to do this, we have to do that, we have to cram everything all into one day. But guess what? It's going to be there tomorrow. But what's not going to be there tomorrow, the most precious resource we have is time. Your kid may be 5 years old right now, but guess what? In a couple of years, they won't be. In a few years, they're going to be a teenager. So even if you think, oh, I got to work hard, I got to do this, I got to do that, and all this busyness that's literally driving your life, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to lose time, there's not enough time. Those things aren't going anywhere, but what you're losing is time with your loved ones. None of us know when our last day will be on earth. So all we have is right now. We can never get back time with our loved ones. All we can do is start to slow down and start living our lives according to what brings us joy and happiness, not by some standard you were showed or someone taught you this is how you're supposed to live your life, and start living it truly to what matters the most to you, according to what makes you feel good and happy and fulfilled. And we start spending time alone in the stillness and the silence and just be with yourself, being present, nurturing the connection we have with ourselves. That isn't possible when we're constantly busy and constantly focused on what we're doing and how we should be doing things. And then as the feelings come up, we have to embrace them, not try to numb or avoid or run away from our feelings. Our feelings are just there to give us information. We have to stop judging them as good, bad, right, or wrong and accept them. And we actually start spending time doing the things that make you feel good and slowing down your pace. You're not only going to have time for yourself, but you're also going to be listening to yourself on what feels good and what doesn't feel good in how you're living your life. And when you're listening to yourself, you're actually in connection with yourself. And as you add time every day to spend time in the silence and the stillness and nurture that connection with yourself so that you can find who you truly are beneath all that programming and all that conditioning. And then it's just our job to take care of ourselves and love ourselves the way we always needed, the way we may never have received. When you stop living your life by everyone else's rules and trying to avoid judgment, avoid rejection, avoid not being liked, and trying to get permission, that's a huge step to start coming home to yourself. And you stop caring so much about what other people think and you start caring more about what you think and living your life the way you want. And those things stop taking up so much of your mental and emotional energy, which is affecting you already every single day. And start spending time alone. And remember, when feelings come up, just sit with them. We don't need to judge them. It's good, bad, right, or wrong. And whatever comes up, let it come up. And lovingly accept whatever it is. Be okay with whatever it is. That information is vital to you finding yourself and for you to stop trying to numb out, avoid, or run away from what's going on in your internal world. If we continue to live our lives in this constant busyness and always being distracted, there's no way that will ever happen. Everything you've done up until now has created a situation where you feel lost. So we have to be willing to change and wake up to the things that are actually unfulfilling, feel bad, and hurt us, and start choosing what's right for ourselves. And this is an ongoing process. This is a journey. The vulnerable part of you inside of yourself, it needs your time, love, attention, and care all the time. And as you start to be in connection with yourself, you can start to listen to that inner voice and start noticing that internal world and create one that is filled with acceptance, love, knowing who you are, and taking care of yourself. And when you have that connection with yourself that is so priceless, and you start tasting that freedom, and you just have to keep nurturing that connection every single day, the more that you get to know yourself, know what you want, trust yourself, and that inner voice that's inside of you, that's your intuition. That will start to awaken. And this is where true happiness and fulfillment comes from. It comes from your inner world, where all the things that truly last come from. That's where you can finally get the love, the acceptance, the peace, the happiness, the joy, the fulfillment when you know who you are. And it's this beautiful cycle of listening to yourself, being there for yourself, supporting yourself, doing what's right for you, feeling good, and the cycle just continues on and on and on. It's like this beautiful self-fed spring inside of you that's going to continue to enhance your mental, emotional, physical well-being, your relationships, and affect you positively on every level. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to connect with me, check out below for the link for my YouTube as I go live every Thursday. And if you enjoyed this episode, then check out last week's. It was a very powerful episode talking about how we're always making snap judgments that turn into stories that actually create a lot of havoc, unhappiness, and dissatisfaction in your life. So check that out. If you're ready to start prioritizing yourself and your own happiness, then check out for my cheat sheet below. That's going to show you how you can start to prioritize yourself and know your worth 1000%. And get some guidance so you can actually step into being the hero in your own life and become the badass you've always wanted to be. Punch fear in the face and live life on your own terms. Till next time.